calling Walmart Stores Customer Service. For the phone number, location, and hours of operation of a Walmart store or Sam's Club, press 1. If you are a customer, press 2. If you are a current or former associate, press 3. For information on becoming a supplier, press 4. To repeat this information, press the star key. If you are calling about your Walmart.com online order, press 1. If you are calling about a store experience, Walmart gift card, or credit card, press 2. To contact Sam's Club, press 3. For savings catcher questions, press 4. To repeat this information, if you are calling about your store experience, store return, or store merchandise, press 1. For credit card questions, press 2. Please hold while your call is being transferred. Thank you for calling Customer Relations, where we're always happy to help. My name is Heather. Can I have your first and last name, please?
Sure, Kevin Donahoe.
Please spell your last name, Kevin.
Donahoe.
Thank you. Can I have your phone number?
Sure, 360-464-8880.
Thank you. How can I help you today, Kevin?
Well, I was treated extremely bad in terms of human rights violations today at your Tumwater store in Washington. And I asked them, do they have a formal issue management place I could note that I'm going to sue your corporation through your registered agent, but at least they'll know I'm willing to settle out of court, and they won't be able to say that they didn't even know something bad happened at Tumwater today. Is this the place to do that, to basically note that your registered agent's going to be sued and give you a chance to settle out of court before you go bankrupt?
Well, I can document your concern, and I can send it off to the store to be addressed by management. As far as anything legal goes, I can't do anything like that. The only thing I can do is just document it and send it off to the store.
Okay, well, my preference would be to send it to your CEO and registered agent, but if you can document it, I guess that's the best we can do. It's going to take a little time. Do you have like 10 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me start with...
The city that the store is in?
It's in Tumwater, Washington, Walmart, and the event occurred at the MoneyGram station, which I'm assuming is Walmart employees, but that's part of the complexity. I don't really know with all these business partners that are working together to do a simple task for me who their employees are working for. But it occurred in Tumwater, Washington, at the MoneyGram place at approximately 8:40 a.m. August 1st, 2018.
Okay.
But it's kind of a tangled web of people that have done human rights violations to me. But let me start off with the simple task that I started out with about a week ago. That my future wife is in Nigeria, and she's a news reporter. So she likes to do human stories, human interest stories on human rights violations. But she's also like a really kind lady that helps poor children and things like that. So I was sending her the best technology, a Samsung S9 Plus, and it seemed like such a simple thing to give her technology that helps her fight civil rights violations, but also be really kind to these children that have no parents and are starving. But it's been a nightmare for me because here's what happened first. I went and I sent it through downtown here, USPS, which I believe is run by the government. And they were sending it to another post office, which is in Nigeria, and Oda, I believe, is it called, the Oda Post Office. And I thought everything would go okay because I declared on customs what it was, a cell phone and a charger. It's not like I'm smuggling drugs or anything like that. And I just was told it would be there in 3 days guaranteed. But then bad things started happening where it took more like 10 days or 15 days. And when my future wife, who's not allowed to leave her motel, I guess, under her visa permit to work there, went to get it with her escort, they said duty, or I think it's customs, was due in the amount of $250 or something like that, which was quite a surprise to me because I figured our local post office is partnered with that post office. Just a second here. I'm going to cancel this call so it won't interrupt us. Sorry about that. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Basically, that was quite a shocker because I was willing to pay the customs, I guess it's called, but they didn't tell me that anything was due, and it could have been my fault. At the bottom of the form, there's all kinds of ways of declaring it as a gift or a charity thing, and perhaps I kind of messed myself up by picking the wrong box where suddenly I was going to get a lot of customs. But then the real nightmare started. I have to figure out how to get $250 approximately for customs to the post office, or by today, the post office themselves is going to steal it. And basically, I'm out money because people in America that are partnering with each other don't really care to give me a heads up on the fact that I'm going to owe customs. And none of them have any way of getting the money to the post office, not even the post office themselves. So basically, I went then to other places like, Western Union. And I thought, well, I'll just send the money by Western Union. And as it turns out, they're incompetent on their software. It blows up in Chrome. And so I had several problems that failed. And finally, I got one through to the person that's going with my wife to the post office to get her phone. But it wasn't enough, of course, that we found out at that point that this outrageous customs fee was due. So I tried to then go today to send more money before the phone gets confiscated at Tumwater, not Western Union this time, but MoneyGram. And when I walked up, my son was with me, so he heard all this. I said, I want to send money to someone in Nigeria. And she said, do I know the person? And I do, because it's the person who's escorting my wife safely to the post office, because it's kind of a dangerous country. And so it's to him and my future wife. And she said, well, I don't feel comfortable sending to anyone in Nigeria. So she basically was kind of making this weird comment. But as it turns out, I got severely disfigured by Willamette dental malpractice, and I'm a senior citizen. So she was actually also just taking one look at me, at my deformed face and the fact I'm a senior citizen, and expecting me to be ignorant on federal rights or human rights violations. And when I started asking her, well, I'm here in the United States, don't you realize you can't discriminate against me, and you can't actually say I have no right to send money to my future wife, that she has to obey laws? she started saying basically that I'm an idiot. Well, let me cancel this phone call coming in just a second. Sorry, are you still there? I'm almost done.
Mm-hmm.
So basically,
Okay.
at that point, I informed her that not only your your organization has to obey American laws, but herself, she can't discriminate against me just because I look so disformed from Willamette dental malpractice or the fact that I'm a senior citizen and didn't age so well. And they basically started saying, get out of here or we're going to file trespass charges on you. So my son and I left because we don't want to have false charges on us like that. But here I am now saying that there's a complex web of partnerships, the USPS, MoneyGram, Western Union, and the relationship between the United States and Nigeria that's really complex for me to figure out. Like, for instance, I have no idea why my wife can't simply safely go from her motel where she works for Fox News to pick up something at the post office, and why she's terrified that she'll get fired or somehow be charged with a crime if her future husband sends money right to her. And I actually have heard the president out there say there's certain nations that are so scary they're like a terrorist nation. So I'm not sure if Nigeria is classified as one of those, but I do know that it's really smart of the CEO and the registered agent of Walmart to just say, when you discriminate against a guy for being ugly because he was mutilated by Willamette Dental, that alone is a real expensive lawsuit, and you should just work with me to get this money to my wife so she can get her phone and not have this go to court and actually bankrupt Walmart.
Okay, well, I'm so sorry for the way that she treated you. That does not align with our corporate values and expectations.
Well, I'm sure glad you said that, because when I did the same thing at Western Union, because when I talked with their security people, which is kind of like I guess she thought she was at Tumwater, they said we don't have to obey American laws. We're in Costa Rica. And when I told her that at Western Union, she said she's sorry. But when that was like a week ago and nothing has happened from Western Union, so I sure hope you follow up better than the lady who was at Western Union who documented this, because basically I'm doing this so she can report on human rights violations and be nice to little poor kids. But there's one other thing I'm kind of concerned about is I guess it is kind of real rough in Nigeria. I'd like her to have the best technology possible, so if something scary is happening, she can get a hold of me. And right now she's got a really crummy phone and a really bad internet provider, so it is kind of a safety issue that's going on here too, from a future husband that wants his future wife to be safe.
Okay. Well, what I'm going to need to do, Kevin, is get you transferred over to our ethics hotline. They would be the department that would handle a situation such as this, and they will be able to launch a full investigation into it.
Well,
I can transfer you over there, and I can provide you with the phone number as well before I transfer you.
Well, I appreciate that, but do you think I'll have to go through this whole story again?
It all just depends, whatever you feel comfortable doing. If you want to give them the whole story, or, just tell them that you feel like you were discriminated against.
Well, I don't know if part of my story I told you or not, but the partner of our USPS post office in Nigeria said, as of today, they're going to steal my phone, and I have to file a claim then with Best Buy and the post office and say it's been ripped off by my own government. So I'm kind of out, this first attempt, unless someone could actually just say quickly, someone over there in Walmart, go give the OTA post office their $2.50 and get the lady her phone. But it doesn't sound like you guys can respond that quickly. So why don't you give me the ethics phone number, and I'll contact them plus your registered agent, and we'll attempt this again in a week or two after you guys actually hear how bad this is. And you certainly don't want to go bankrupt because you're not quick enough to just get someone in Nigeria to give her a Samsung free now, because this is way more than the cost of a $25 for 2-year a month Samsung phone. And that's all it really cost me. But all of a sudden I got into all these other expenses like customs fees and escort fees and all kinds of things that are absurd, and I still didn't get the phone to her. So anyway, if you can just give me the ethics phone number, I'll look up the registered agent, and we'll try and get this resolved in the next 7 days.
Okay. Are you ready for the number?
Yeah.
All right. It is 1-800-963-8442.
1-800-963-8442, right?
That's correct.
And it is kind of a real thing. It's like it's an ethics issue. It's a federal human rights law issue, but it's actually kind of like a discrimination against Americans with disabilities, since I mentioned that Willamette Dental made me look like a hideous monster with a malpractice. Do you also have somebody that's called ADA expert at Walmart that handles where Americans with disabilities are discriminated against?
Not that I'm aware of, but I believe this ethics hotline will be able to take care of that.
Okay, well, I guess thanks for listening to my long story. I'm not sure how long it was, but, frankly, I'm not sure what to think. I know I've heard horrible stories about Nigeria. I think they have racial wars, and my wife actually is a very kind person, and the other day she was saying they had said things that made her think they were creatures. So there is a lot of bad stuff going on in Nigeria, but I think people are missing the point that the whole nation isn't to blame. It's pretty much the leadership, and certainly when nice people from Italy go there that are Fox News reporters, they're not like anyone you should fear getting money from or sending money to. So it is really mind-boggling for me.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening to my hard luck story. Have a good day.
Well, thank you for calling Customer Relations. We're always happy to help. There's going to be a one-question survey at the end of this call, and it'll rate the service I provided to you. I would appreciate your feedback, and I hope you have a good day, sir.
All right, I'll do that.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Please rate the service that you received on the phone today. 1 being poor and 5 being excellent. We appreciate your participation in this survey, and thank you for shopping at Walmart.